Let me know if this sounds familiar. You wake up. Before your feet even touch the floor, you've already scrolled through headlines, notifications, messages, and probably the weather. You haven't taken a full breath, yet your body is already bracing. By 9 a.m., you've checked 6 more apps, you've answered 3 texts, and skimmed half a dozen emails. Then by noon, your heart is racing, but you haven't actually moved an inch. You tell yourself it's just stress, another busy day. But this isn't just stress. It's digital overload. And for many of us, it's the hidden engine behind our rising anxiety. We think anxiety comes from circumstance, like deadlines and uncertainty and pressure. But more often in today's world, it's coming from overstimulation. Our nervous systems are carrying more signals than they were ever meant to process. And the body doesn't care that those signals are digital. To your biology, every notification is a micro threat, and every scroll a potential danger. This is the modern anxiety nobody taught us how to recognize because we mistake it for normal life. So picture this. A woman sitting at her kitchen counter, her laptop's open, her coffee's already half cold. Her phone pings every few minutes. It's Slack, it's email, it's WhatsApp, or it's news alerts or whatever. She tells herself she's multitasking, but her shoulders are tight and her jaw's locked. And by afternoon, she's jumpy and she's irritable and behind on everything that actually matters. When she finally shuts her laptop, she feels hollow. She's too drained to cook dinner, too wired to rest. And somewhere between the emails and the endless scrolling, she begins to wonder, why am I so anxious when nothing is actually wrong? This is the quiet reality for millions of people, especially high achievers and caregivers and creators. We live in a constant state of microactivation, and it's not just psychological, it's physiological as well. Here's what's really going on. Every ping or vibration or new headline, it activates your amygdala. That's the brain's threat detector. It doesn't distinguish between a predator and a push notification. It just knows something changed. Pay attention. That trigger sends a signal through your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the stress pathway, releasing cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increases, your breathing shortens, and your body prepares for action. But the action never comes in today's digital world. You don't run, you don't fight, you just sit there scrolling. Over time, your system stops resetting, and your baseline anxiety becomes the new normal. Neuroscientists call this allostatic load. It's the cumulative wear and tear on your body from chronic microstress. It's what leads to fatigue, irritability, insomnia, and the sense that your mind is always on. Your brain is brilliant. It adapts just like you do. But adaptation has a cost. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the part responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation, it starts to go offline when it goes under constant pressure. That's why it's harder to focus and harder to relax and easier to snap. You're not broken, you're just biologically overloaded. Now add psychology to the biology. Every time you check your phone, you enter a dopamine loop. It's anticipation, reward, and depletion. That intermittent reinforcement, sometimes there's something exciting, and sometimes not, it keeps you coming back. Then comes cognitive fragmentation. There's dozens of those open tabs on your laptop, there's unfinished tasks, there's partial attention everywhere. Your brain never completes a cycle, so it never rests. And underneath it all is that subtle fear, that FOMO, that fear of falling behind, the fear of irrelevance. Modern anxiety thrives on comparison and information overload. You end the day not only tired, but subtly ashamed, wondering why everyone else seems to be handling it better and they have their stuff together. But they're not. They're just scrolling through the same invisible storm as you are. Anxiety is not just in the mind. It's a full body signal that you've exceeded your sensory capacity. When your heart rate stays elevated, your vagus nerve, which is the bridge between your brain and body, it can't send the message to downshift. You stay in sympathetic overdrive, unable to transition into rest and digest. That's why so many people describe modern anxiety as a mix of tension and emptiness. Wired but tired, numb but restless. Your nervous system is whispering, I can't tell what's safe anymore. And that confusion becomes the fuel of chronic anxiety. Here's the paradox. The same system that gets overloaded can also self-regulate if you just give it space. Just 60 seconds of deep breathing can lower your cortisol significantly. 10 minutes of walking outdoors can reset brainwave coherence. Looking away from a screen and focusing on a distant object relaxes the ocular nerve, signaling safety. Your body already knows how to find calm. It's been doing it for millennia, but it just needs permission. The first step to healing digital anxiety isn't more discipline, it's awareness. You have to recognize that the anxiety you feel isn't proof of weakness. It's evidence that your nervous system is trying to protect you. And once you recognize that, you can begin to retrain it. That's where the impossible prompt comes in. IP isn't just another productivity tool. It's a mirror, an intelligent companion designed to help you observe how you interact with technology, with time, and with yourself. During the 7-day calibration, the system listens to your language patterns, the words that you use around pressure and urgency and rest. It reflects those patterns back to you, revealing your anxiety loops. And you start to see how often you describe your life in stress language, like, I have to do this, or I should do that, or I'm behind on this. Then, through guided prompts and nervous system practices, you learn how to interpret those loops and then how to create micropauses that retrain your physiology. Over time, your digital world becomes calmer because you become calmer. You stop reacting to every signal and start leading the rhythm of your day. And that's how anxiety transforms into awareness, and awareness into authorship. Neuroplasticity means the brain can change through experience. Every time you choose calm over compulsion, you rewire a pathway. When you consciously stop to breathe before checking your phone, you strengthen the prefrontal cortex and weaken the amygdala's dominance. When you finish a task before opening a new tab, you restore dopaminergic balance, reinforcing satisfaction instead of constant seeking. The nervous system has learned safety through repetition. And this is how anxiety dissolves, not by willpower, but by teaching the body that the world is no longer a constant emergency. And that's what the Impossible Prompt Protocol trains. Digital consciousness rooted in biological coherence. Here's the funny thing. Anxiety is not actually your enemy. It's an alarm that's basically just gone unanswered. It's your body's way of saying there's too much coming in and not enough going out. The goal isn't to eliminate anxiety, but to understand it. Because once you see anxiety for what it is, energy without expression, you can begin to channel it. Movement, breath, journaling, time in nature. These aren't luxuries. They are how the nervous system metabolizes experience. And when you bring that consciousness to that process, the energy of anxiety becomes creativity. The restlessness becomes momentum. And the noise becomes insight. That's the alchemy at the heart of the Impossible Prompt, turning overwhelm into awareness and awareness into power. Here are 3 micro shifts that you can try today. Here's a 20-second breath rule. Every time you switch tasks, pause for 3 deep breaths. This resets your autonomic nervous system and reduces the buildup of microstress. Second, try a notification fast. Turn off non-essential alerts for one day. I would even recommend turning off all alerts for one day. Notice how your body feels when you're the one deciding when to engage instead of being pulled by pings. And then third, look at something I call the completion ritual. Before closing your laptop, list 3 things you actually finished. Your brain loves closure. It restores a sense of control and safety. These tiny shifts lower anxiety not because they fix your life, but because they remind your body that it's allowed to rest. Calm isn't the absence of activity. It's the presence of coherence. You can have a full calendar and still feel totally peaceful if your nervous system trusts that you're going to honor its limits. That trust is built through consistency, moments of listening, movement, breath, and awareness. We were taught to manage time. Now it's time to manage energy. Because anxiety at its core is misplaced energy. Too much charge without enough channel. When you give it direction, it becomes intuition. And when you ignore it, it becomes fear. If you're listening to this webinar and you've gotten to this point and you recognize yourself in these words, if you recognize yourself in the tension and the scattered focus and the end of day emptiness, right now pause and take a deep breath, because you're not alone and you're not broken. Your anxiety makes perfect sense given the pace and pressure of the modern world. The good news is that relief doesn't require escape. It requires recalibration. You can retrain your nervous system to live differently within the digital world, to use technology consciously and not compulsively. And that's what the Impossible Prompt helps you do. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to understand your anxiety instead of battling it, I invite you to take a next step with me. Request your private invitation to the Impossible Prompt, because anxiety isn't the end of calm. It's the doorway to it. And once you understand the signals, you can rewrite the pattern. And when you do, technology stops running your nervous system, and you do. That's the beginning of sovereignty, and that's the end of invisible anxiety. And that's the promise of the Impossible Prompt, to help you live consciously, calmly, and impossibly human.